I might just scroll back and forth between first pick and hero pick to start, and then we'll look at their whole teams. So I'm going to go ahead and start rolling here. Oltada, with his number one pick, he takes Bo Jackson. I want to say the best season Oltada ever had. He contended for the playoffs, went 500, I think. He had like an MVP caliber season with Bo Jackson. In fact, I think Bo was the MVP that year, that season. He whooped the brakes off of me. He bullied me. So he's going to pair that with David Fulcher. I did not look. I think Fulcher's a badass, though. Top safety. He'll be another great top safety. So, yeah, that's an outstanding combo there. Dizzy P takes Lawrence Taylor. We got to break up these defensive units. I'm coming with a proposal for next season. We got to have a little more flexibility on how we build these teams. But he gets LT. LT is enough, and he adds Bobby Humphrey. So our first two drafters, they go the route of running back and elite defender. Can't argue with that. Tennessee Williams, he takes Carl Banks. Of course, Leonard Marshall, kind of wasted in that unit, but included in it. And Tennessee takes Boomer Esiason. So very good offensive and defensive combination here. I dig it. Jerry goes defense and creates a strong defense with his first pick. Now, my feelings on defensive players, he goes with the Washington bottom. Charles Mann, second best pass rushing drone after Howie. In the stock game, I guess. I think we've had Bruce Smith down there too, who's better. But strong pass rushing option, and then you have Darrell Green at safety, who's a very useful player. Especially useful because when I've had Washington bottom, if I'm expecting pass, I am definitely going to be Green because I want to leave Charles Mann free to do his thing on the rush. Now, we'll come back to that. Kevin Green, I didn't look at his stats. As I recall, he's awesome. And we'll get a look at Jerry's team and how he's going to slot in the defense here in just a moment. My thoughts on defensive units. I have come around on the idea that I don't think a 2 dimes and a nickel are worth a quarter. I think when Ronnie Lott is on the table, like I understand based on the positions they play, taking LT first, and I understand taking Carl Banks before Ronnie Lott. He plays an insanely powerful position, and he's an awesome player. If Ronnie Lott's on the board, I think you got to take him. And in fact, I think I might even extend that as far down to Dixon and Dewerson as well. But that's not as clear cut, right? That's not so obvious to me. But that's just my thoughts on it. Jerry goes defense with his picks, and he'll have a good unit. Wade, he takes Ronnie Lott, talks about him constantly. I don't know how dominant that. At least the word is out a little bit. People take that into consideration. It's not really a problem. It's what happens. These elite top safeties can engage with their blocker and be off their block before a lot of running backs even get clear of that spot on the field. So that is, but there are run plays to the top that mitigate that somewhat. And so that's something that people are thinking about now. But hey, you can't argue with Ronnie Lott, and Wade took a nice running back in Dalton Hilliard. So yeah, excellent picks there. Drew Manster takes the Washington top, the most tragically overloaded unit in the game. We got to split that up. Wilbur Marshall and Barry Wilburn, they could help people, but Barry especially totally wasted in this unit. You take that pick for Dexter Manley, who is an elite defender, in my opinion. He's outstanding. Drew takes Sterling Sharp, who's going to slot into the bottom receiver spot in the LA offense, which is wild. Cody takes Walter Payton, can't argue with that, and does add a solid defensive player in Al Noga. Al Noga's not a world beater, but Cody's a very good player, and so the fact that he has a strong running back is disconcerting. 40 FPS takes Eric Dickerson, so Peyton and Dickerson go back to back, as you would expect. We know what the deal is now, and we really saw it with this draft. Quarterbacks tumbling, except for Tennessee, who took a very, very good one with his hero pick. I think that was smart. But in the main draft, quarterbacks tumble. It was all about defense, and it was about securing running backs for a lot of these teams. And right now, I'm not looking at the comments. I don't know if anyone's chatting along, but I will check those here in just a moment. Nelson takes two good defensive players with the Minnesota defensive top, and he adds a solid bottom safety. Don Griffin is not a great defender. He is tied for the second best player at that spot, though. He and Fred Rob are number two behind Frank Minifield. So his thinking on that was that he gives himself at least a solid option on the bottom, not knowing how the rest of the draft was going to play out. And I get it. There were some decent offensive options still left. Could have gone with one of those. A decent returner, could have gone with that. A few other defensive options. We'll see how it fits into the context of his team overall. I took the Cleveland top. I took my man Hanford Dixon, who I don't think I've ever had in the league. I don't think I've ever had Hanford Dixon. And then I, kind of had a clue the defense was going to go fast. And so I didn't love the options that were left. So I went with Greg Townsend. Townsend is going to be situational run defense against about half the playbooks, which is nice. He'll be a good player to have, especially with a few playbooks I can think of where Hanford Dixon will be mitigated a little bit. He's a solid, but he's not like a killer in that spot, but it's a very thin spot. So it's nice to have a good player there. My man Mack, great season. He takes Herschel Walker, great running back. And then Cornelius Bennett. Bennett, I want to say, is maybe a Dwayne Bickett or Simon Fletcher clone from Japan. Plays in a good spot, has 1 point of initial speed, otherwise not a great player. But especially late in the hero round, it's all gravy, baby. Whatever you can add is good. And then TPS with his first round pick, and we always can consider the swing pick too, because it all kind of goes together. It's a huge advantage to have to win the league and pick last. He gets Dewerson in the Chicago top, adds Kurt Warner, great running back, and adds Mark Green, kick returner. So again, gravy. He sees a player that he likes. I got a message here. Cody is just noting that it doesn't show Noga on his team. All right, I'll keep that in mind. So Noga is his bottom D end. That's what we're talking about his squad. So that's the first round. Now I'm going to scroll up here to the teams. And we'll look at these. I'm going to switch over here. All right, now I'm going to get caught up on the... Okay, so Green is 16-1-8. Yes, that is a good player. Oh, yeah, Darryl Green is better than Fred Robinson. So, and Don Griffin. So those guys are third. I forgot about old Darryl, 17-1-8. Saquon Barkley in a draft in the Eagles again. Yeah, well, I mean, we've got more guy G League kind of fell apart. We've got more guys who want to play, and I wonder how we get guys involved. If just making up teams is the way to go, we've already got one. We've already done it once. I didn't mind it. We could put the St. Louis Cardinals out there for another. There's options. We'll get to it. We're just starting season 14. The future's looking bright, baby. All sorts of possibilities for season 15. Added 80. Yeah. Yeah, like I had a wild hair and I looked up the 87 Cardinals. Neil Lomax, great season. JT Smith, great season. Defensively, they got Freddie Joe Nunn. Not much else on that team, but that's okay. That's basically a Tecmo Bowl team, right? Just like a few really good players and then a lot of filler. That's how it go. You know, that's how it go. Let's note that Dizzy P won the Hero Cup and he took Al Toon. Oh my God. All right. So Levi was marveling at Dizzy's team, and this really is something else. Joe Montana, Bobby Humphrey, the San Fran wide receivers with Al Toon replacing Mike Ass Wilson, which we hate to see Mike Ass Wilson not in the league. But, oh my God, this is wild. San Fran solid O-line. Seattle defensive top, not a lot to love there. Kenny Easley's kind of whatever. Cleveland mid, nothing there. But he's got Lawrence Taylor. And as we say, Lawrence Taylor is enough. The Pink Demon, BJ Edmonds. I got to be honest, by splitting apart the kick returner, the punter, and the kicker, it seemed like a lot of, and then of course offensive line, it seemed like a lot of emphasis was put on kick returning and special teams this time around. I didn't pay. Part of it was I drank pretty heavily yesterday. I don't give a shit. I have not even seen who I ended up with on special teams, and I wonder if that's going to cost me. But he's got the Pink Demon at kick returner. Raul Allegre, not a great kicker. I don't even know who L. Johnson is, but I do know that he's putting all that offensive talent in the Dallas playbook, which in my opinion, I still think Dallas is the best playbook. I think they have the best pass plays anyway. I'll say that. I'm not sure which run to the top they have, which is a factor. Okay, so average punter. Okay. All right. So, I mean, his kicker and his punter aren't great, but he's got a good returner and an incredible amount of offensive talent that he's putting in the best playbook in the game, or one of the best playbooks in the game. Dizzy always puts a good team out there. He is a dude who's hung in now for several seasons. He avoided relegation. He never got sent down. My dude is a gamer, and he's put together one of the best teams I think we've ever seen. The defense is thin, but you don't need anything other than Lawrence Taylor. So this is a really incredible roster. Not too shabby. Perhaps the least shabby roster of all time. That's really good. Our man Drew Manster coming off a rare, I think the only bad season he's ever had. John Elway at quarterback, Kevin Mack at running back, Ernest Biner at fullback. He's running that LA playbook, which I believe in. I don't know if I love this personnel in it. In fact, I think I hate it. I think I hate this personnel. I wouldn't do it. I would flip those dudes just based on the experience I had running this offense. Because Ernie Biner, he's a Tony Dorsett clone. Am I right? So he's going to be a little faster than Kevin Mack. And I wonder if he's going to get out in front far enough of Mack. That's going to be hard to trigger the crackback block. We shall see. If he's getting that block, then it's going to be fine. Sterling Sharp gives him an elite receiving target. Oh, yeah, a strong arm. I had a pretty strong, maybe not quite that strong, but I had Jim Kelly. I want to say it's like a 12 arm strength in that offense. It's killer to have a strong arm guy there. the so Clarence K is going to be the tight end. Part of I believe that LA is the best tight end playbook. I had Bavaro in it, and all the pussy in the whole world has not recovered from how hard he crushed it in that season. He was amazing. Clarence K is not going to be like that, but Drew's going to be looking to put the ball in Sterling Sharp's hands, and Kevin Mack's going to be a very competent receiver as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting experiment Drew's running this season. He's got the Minnesota O-line. They are solid. Washington top, unexceptional Indianapolis middle, unexceptional Miami bottom. But no, I have to give Drew credit. He's the only person who defends better with 1409 defensive ends than I do. And so he's going to be just fine with Turner down there. Ken Bell, crappy returner. He's got the Such, best kicker in the game. Roan Stark, very good punter. And that LA playbook. So this is going to be a wild and fun season. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. 15 billion time league champion DPS puts together a bog standard DPS roster here. McMahon, of course. Kurt Warner, a guy he's had several times. Chicago receivers, which I believe he's had too. He's doing this in the Washington playbook. It doesn't really seem to matter. Dan doesn't ever make mistakes in the pass game. And so the personnel doesn't matter so much. I did notice, yeah, it's he's got to take the same guys because he's always drafting in the same spot. Anybody remember that? That was from like 2 years ago. Maybe not quite 2 years ago. Defensively, he's got Dewerson. Bill Pickle, who's not going to serve much use other than bringing a little bit of extra heat on a play pick, and then Dallas Bottom. So it's the Dewerson show, but like when you got a guy like that, you got a guy that good, that's maybe all you need. And Dan had a terrible defense last season and still won, so it doesn't really matter. His hero pick, Mark Green, good returner. He's got a crappy O-line. He's got Landetta, the best punter. So that's nice. Barr, I think, is a good kicker. And, of course, he's in the Washington playbook, which he's had about 10 times as well. So I'm going to give Drew's roster, I'm going to give it a shabby rating. And I'm not saying that to insult our bold commissioner. I just kind of fucking hate how he's got his personnel in it. I hate it. And so I'm going to say shabby. And shabby, not too shabby. It doesn't matter with Dan. It's a thin roster, but he's going to be fine. Let's scroll on down here. Okay. Yeah, he takes the same picks. And then even if his team is a little different, doesn't matter. He still wins the league. All right, this dickhead, Fiddlesticks. I really like my offense. I've got a good unit. I've got a unit I like at every spot. Bernie Kosar, who I had my best season ever passing the rock was with Bernie Kosar. Marcus Allen, I've had him several times. I've had mediocre. This is like the fourth or fifth time. And the reason this is another one of those things where I'm usually drafting in about the same spot, right? Because I always make the playoffs, but I never win the league. So I'm always picking in the same spot. This specific thing has happened more than once where my pick comes up and I look, okay, so there's 3 guys and there's 3 9-4 running backs. So I wait. And then the next 2 guys inevitably take Herschel and Kurt Warner, and I wind up with Marcus Allen. That's happened, I think, 3 times, that exact thing. Marcus Allen, I learned last season, there is a difference. There's a difference. Because the season before, I had Marcus Allen in the Chicago offense. Last season I had Joe Morris, and I played well with Joe Morris. But there were times where Joe Morris got dinged by drones that Marcus Allen would have gotten away from. So I'm glad to have a better running back. I've never had the Minnesota wide receivers. Carter and Jordan are both good. I wonder if I would have enjoyed one elite receiver. I definitely thought about taking the New York group because I do love Bavaro. Bavaro kind of puts you in a box where you need the right playbook. You need to be able to get him the ball, and I couldn't guarantee that. So I opted to go with a little more flexibility and take Minnesota. Denver O-line was available when I was way in the cups trying to make a pick yesterday. I don't mind. I like the unit. Now, my defense is basically Hanford Dixon and Greg Townsend, and that's it. When I go to the bottom, I'll go to my man Jacob Green, fan favorite. I love Jacob Green, but I mean, you also, how much can you say about him? Thin defense. It's basically the Hanford Dixon show. Now, I will say, some of these playbooks, I think of Denver and Seattle specifically, where Dixon's a little weaker. When you run to the top, you get that guard that pulls, and it delays when he intercepts the free safety. Instead of running straight out there so that Dixon or Ronnie Lott can come in, tap him out real quick, and grab the running back, it takes just a moment longer for the free safety to get engaged. It gives you a chance to squeak past him. It worked a little bit for me last season, even with Joe Morris. How did I get to... So the reason I brought that up is against Denver and Seattle specifically, Townsend will make me stronger against the run. I can call run plays, mix in run plays, and beat Townsend, and he'll be unblocked, and he'll be right on top of those running backs if I make the right call. So anyway, it's a good combo. I'm weak on the bottom. I don't love this defense. I do love this offense. Who did I get? Pruitt, Fuad, and Wagner. I don't know who Wagner plays for. I don't know anything about him. I know he's bad. I was like one of the last guys to get a punter, but I don't think he's quite the worst. Is he Chicago's? Yeah, he's Chicago's. I don't think he's quite the worst. I think Seattle and Denver both have worse punters, just barely. Now, the Miami playbook, I did not want it. I really wanted Seattle. It went the pick before me, and that pissed me off. That fucking pissed me off. I didn't. Now Denver has that strong run play that I want, but I don't like Denver as a playbook to get the ball to the 10. You ain't sorry, Levi. You're not sorry. Don't apologize. I don't like the Denver playbook to get the ball to the tight end. And I want to get the ball to the tight end. And so I took Miami. It solves an issue where, it's going to be kind of a grindy season with Marcus Allen, though I will point out the longest run I've ever had on this game was with Marcus Allen in this playbook versus Chris. It was like a 60-yard run several seasons ago. It was ridiculous. Never seen anything like it. So it does, obviously I'm weak to guys with good outside linebackers. But the thing about the Miami playbook is if you don't play Pickett, it's probably a first down. Emphasis for me this season's going to be getting the ball to my tight end, which I don't always do in the Miami playbook. In fact, I very rarely do it. But I don't have a good bottom wide receiver, which I would like in this playbook. What I've got is a good tight end, and so I'm gonna get him the ball, and we're gonna do our best. So it'll be a new spin on the Miami offense, and just try not to turn the ball over. I think this team is not too shabby. I like this squad. Okay, groundbreaking season for our man 40 FPS in Buffalo. He's not going to be San Francisco, which, despite, I don't know how many seasons CJ has played, but I believe he's had one winning season with the San Fran playbook. And I don't, CJ, did you make the playoffs last season? I know half the league was like 6-7, and some of those guys got in the playoffs. Season number 9 for you. And so, because you had Indy your first season, and now you have Indy again this season. So 7 seasons with San Fran, one winning record. Still insists that it's a fantastic playbook. At this point, I just respect it. But if you draft, and I said this in the chat, if you draft Eric Dickerson and put him in the San Fran playbook, you're out of the fucking league. No, I won't tolerate it. I won't tolerate it. Cunningham, Bo, and Washington wide receivers. Oh man. uh was that the winning season with San Fran 40, or was that with your season with Indy? There's definitely ways to get more utility um out of those receivers. Like, they are perfect for the Dallas playbook. Just murderous. But we also, at this time, did not lean so heavily on the in routes, which Indy Pass 1 has one with Ricky Sanders. So I like that setup a little more. I think it kind of wastes Gary Clark and leans heavily on Clint Didier, who's like the crappiest part of that group. But anyway, moving on. Dave Craig, Eric Dickerson, Dallas wide receivers, back in the Indy playbook. And his hero pick was the San Francisco offensive line. Really great unit. Defensively, not a lot to love here. He's running a 4-3. The highlight is that Indianapolis bottom with Dwayne Bickett and Fred Robinson. So, not great defenders here. And they're in bad spots. So I be giving up lots of quick shots to the top. Indy is a good playbook for a quarterback who doesn't have an elite arm. Craig's going to slot in just fine. It's always great to put the ball in the hands of Eric Dickerson, Gary Clark, or Ricky Sanders. So I do think this offense is going to cook. Gerald McNeil in the return game. I think that's San Fran's kicker and Reggie Roby. So a very, very strong special teams unit here. Yeah, very nice. Our man, I'll give this a not too shabby. Not too shabby. I think that offense will cook. I have a different outlook on the in route for Indy Pass 1 than I did like a year ago. I think it'd be really effective now. Our man Jerry. Not a ton of offensive talent here. Jay Schrader, Jomo, and the Miami wide receivers in the San Fran playbook. Okay. So Jomo is going to play well as a receiver. You put the ball in his hands, past the line of scrimmage, he's going to be a really good option. The Miami wide receivers, I think, have just enough speed that they can hurt you in this playbook. So it's not a disaster. He's not running the Denver or the Dallas wide receivers out there. But still, this offense is on the less talented side. Defensively, Kevin Green on the thing I looked at earlier listed him as an inside linebacker. But no, he's going to be on that Washington bottom. So now it's a very deep unit. Or I might have misread earlier. It's a very deep unit now with Charles Mann, Kevin Green, and Darrell Green. Darrell's almost wasted now. But you do got to keep in mind that sometimes you'll be taking Kevin Green out of coverage if you man him. So this will be a defense that I won't enjoy playing very much. I can tell you that. Tim Brown, good returner. Ruzek, good kicker. Rodriguez, terrible punter. So I don't love the San Fran playbook, and this isn't a very talented offense. Uh, Jerry has built something of a super unit with his bottom defensive unit, and he's got Rulon Jones on the top. I really like this defense. The defense almost saves it. You know me, I hate the San Fran playbook, so I'm going to call it shabby. It's really not that bad, and I think he's going to be able to score through his special teams. He's got a bad punter, but he's got a good defense, which mitigates the field position a little bit. Yeah, Joe Morris. He wants to be free. He enjoyed being in Chicago last season. All right, my man Cody. Offensively, of course, he's got Walter Payton and the Cleveland wide receiver core in the New York playbook with Danny White. Danny White is interesting. I wonder how that's going to play. I'm sure he'll be fine. So, what's the downside of the New York playbook? Well, you can't put the ball in Peyton's hands at or past the line of scrimmage. That's kind of a bummer. Cleveland's wide receivers, I think, are going to be okay. I've had good success throwing to Stacy Robinson on curls, and so Cleveland's going to fit right in there. Bad offensive line. Defensive top, not that helpful. Now, he's got the Seattle middle, though. So Fred Young and Bosworth are going to give him very strong interior defensive run options and also shut down extra points. So that's going to be a big advantage he's going to have all season. On the bottom, unexceptional Denver unit, but he adds Al Noga, who's a solid, but not a great or even necessarily a very good player, but a nice option to have. So that's a solid defensive unit. Gentry, the man, one of the best. Barr is a good kicker, I think. Good, not great. Cox, I don't know anything about. But this is an interesting squad. I like it. I'm gonna say it's not too shabby. I'm a Fred Young apologist though, so he elevates this. He's an elite player who plays an important position, but you wish you could use him against every playbook. But this will be another one of those where I'm sure I'll see a lot of Fred Young when I play against Cody. Our man Mac, one of the all-time great comeback seasons, goes from fighting relegation and picking first overall to making it all the way to the finals. He gets Doug Williams, Herschel Walker, and the Indianapolis wide receivers, who have Booza and not much else. He's got the powerful Chicago line. He does not have the Chicago top. Dan has the Chicago top. Hirsch. He took Chicago mid. He's got the Dallas top. Okay. Now we're back. Sorry, I had to track down what that was. Okay, so the Dallas top with Bennett. So a useless unit that is made not useless by the presence of a better than average player. He does have that Chicago mid. That's where the speed on this defense is going to come from. Going to be very difficult to kick extra points versus our man Mac. Singletary is always blocked. Still useful. Still a useful call against shotgun plays or when you're sure the other guy is going to pass. And San Fran bottom. 40's a big fan of Kruger, but there's not much to love about that unit. But between Bennett and the Chicago mid, there's talent on this roster. It's not necessary. His best guys aren't in the best spots. But Bennett does give him a plus guy that he can use whenever he wants. Okay. Crawford, not a good kicker. Or not a good kick returner. Butler is a pretty good kicker. And Runiger, I don't know anything about him. He's in the Minnesota playbook. I think Mac has had that more than once, or maybe it's Cleveland. Anyway, he's capable. He's capable with this style of offense, so he's going to be just fine. In fact, I like the idea of getting the ball out on that swing pass to Herschel Walker is pretty cool. I'm gonna say not too shabby. Not too shabby. I will say, I have had a season where I relied on the middle part of my defense to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I had Chicago mid with Townsend. It went all right. I ended up playing with my defensive ends a lot just because I'm more comfortable doing it. But I didn't have Bennett either. So I'm going to rate this roster not too shabby. Yeah. Our man Nelson, he's got TK, Tommy Kramer, he's got Roger Craig. Roger Craig is like the San Francisco playbook in that I'm opposed. And it hurts me. You need to understand. It hurts my feelings. Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame. He is a Husker legend, right? I love that guy, IRL. I think he sucks on this game. And I think he holds Levi back, which is why I'm glad he has him. Because Levi, it's why I'm glad. Levi is a guy who's beaten me multiple times. And I feel like I don't have to worry about that as much when he's got Roger Craig. Anything can happen, though. So I need to watch how I run my mouth. But I do like the New York wide receiver core. I don't love it in the Seattle playbook, and I'm not just saying that because he stole it from me one pick before I was going to take it. Manuel, you want some speed. You want something in that top wide receiver spot. Because that guy stretching the field is what Seattle's a lot of underneath passes, right? But like it's still going to be okay. It's just going to take a moment longer to develop than it would otherwise. Roger Craig is a bad running back. The Seattle playbook is going to help with that solid run to the top. But if the defense is manning a bottom defender, I mean Craig will get eaten up. Levi's such a good runner. He's so elusive that he can kind of make Craig work sometimes. But man, just imagine what it'd be like if you had a good running back. Excuse me. Washington O-line. Solid Minnesota top units. You get two nice but not great players. Browner is very good. Dolman is good. Michael Carter is there to blitz on those play picks, baby, and to block extra points. And then the LA bottom with Don Griffin. So this is a stacked defense. Crazy stacked. And, I mean, there's really no criticism you can offer of it here. Either Dolman or Browner, either one works as a primary defender, right? I would go with Dolman just so I don't have to worry about taking Browner out of coverage. But then you've got Michael Carter for extra points, and you've got Howie Long, the best pass rushing drone in the game and a very strong bottom half defender. And you still have Don Griffin down there as an option if you think a pass is coming and you want to let Howie do his thing and rush the passer. So this is an outstanding defense that is going to lift this bad offense, and it makes this roster not too shabby. Cold-ass McConkey at kick returner. Carlos is, I want to say he's 40 or 41 yards, and Tally is okay. So, not good special teams, outstanding defense. Also, I want to note, everybody in this league gets better drone help than I do. The game seeks me out personally and specifically and denies me useful drone help. So Levi's going to get much better drone help from this stacked defense than I would in his shoes. You take that to the goddamn bank. I'm going to consider this roster not too shabby. All right, our last three. Our man Oltada. Oh my God. Dan Marino and Bo Jackson. Oh, this is gross. Dan Marino and Bo Jackson. And the Seattle receiver corps in the Chicago playbook, which they're a good fit for. Steve Largent is a good deep threat. He doesn't look like it when the play starts because he starts off slow, but offensive players accelerate so quickly that he's at his top speed very quickly, and he gets downfield faster than you think he's going to. With Marino throwing the ball, this is a really dangerous offensive group. Oltada's going to be tough this year. Indio line, they've got a good guy. Fulcher, Drew, are you still with me? Or someone tell me what Fulcher's line is. Is he like a Hanford Dixon, Dave Dewerson clone? Otherwise, he has the Indy top. Oh, he's a Browner clone. Okay. So he's not quite elite, but he's still very, very, very good. I do notice there is a difference between like Browner and Hanford Dixon. That lower acceleration, you notice it. But he starts off at a decent speed and has a great top speed. So he's still going to be a very strong player. He also has the secret best defender in the game. That's top defensive end John Hand with the Indianapolis unit. It's a fact. The useless Dallas mid and the not quite useless. Who's that? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Big white boy in the Hall of Fame. Who's the D end in that? Hampton. They've got Hampton. Todd Bell, who if this game had come out a few years before, would be one of the best players on the game. Not very useful. Otis brings a little bit of heat on long kicks. He can block them sometimes, like really long kicks. He and Clay Matthews can come out of that spot. They've got a top speed of 14. They just start off slow and accelerate slow. But if a guy's got to let that meter fill, they can sometimes get in your face and cause a mistake. But definitely not a good player. So this is a thin McMichael he's not on the Chicago bottom. Mongo is a big white boy. He's in the Hall of Fame, though, now. I'll give you that. I was thinking of Dan Hampton. Thin defense, crazy offense, in a playbook that's very user-friendly. I really like the Chicago playbook because it's hard to fuck up, you know? Like, you'll wish that you had a better bottom wide receiver than Daryl Turner. I'll say that. Mr. Hands, Daryl Turner. But Steve Largent, Bo Jackson, and Dan Marino are going to serve you very well in the Chicago playbook, so not too shabby. All right. He just logged into the chat. The most available man on Discord. Here's Tennessee Williams and his New York Jets. Boomer Esiason was his hero pick. I can't knock it. Boomer's a very good quarterback. Tony Dorsett, solid back. The crazy talented Los Angeles receiver corps. They're strong everywhere. The Denver playbook. Tim Brown is going to crush in the Denver playbook. He is going to crush. Mervin Fernandez is going to be like your change of pace guy. Like, if it were me, you're probably going to have to feed the ball to Mervin at first to free up Tim Brown, and you just kind of alternate back and forth. If there's a knock, I don't love throwing to the tight end in the Denver playbook. Drew does. Other people do. At least one guy does. I almost never do it. So Todd Christensen might be a little underutilized, but still. A really good quarterback throwing to great receivers in a playbook that is designed for big plays, in my opinion. You know, like Denver shotgun play It's for gaining yards, baby. That's what it's for. Um, so yeah, that could be really exciting to watch. Tennessee has improved greatly as a passer. He's got defensively a nice unit here, a really nice one. Carl Banks on top, Frank Minifield on bottom. That's good balance. He can stay unpredictable. Um, yeah, really good defense here. Miami middle, John Offerdahl. I don't know. You can consult the materials. Offerdahl can be an effective run defender against certain playbooks. Not all of them. Um, Worth looking into and utilizing every once in a while, especially if you're getting dinged. If you're getting run on, it's not a bad idea. Of course, when you've got Carl Banks, you can just run your run defense to Carl Banks. That's probably what I'd do. But another deep defense here. I like it. Darrell Green, the return man. Darrell Green just lives to let you down. I've never had much luck with him. Norm Johnson, Horan, not good special teams here. Don't love it. I do like the offense and I like the defense. So definitely not too shabby here. Last, Wade. WB in WV. He gets based Phil Simms as his quarterback. Hero pick Dalton Hilliard. Didn't someone else have the Washington? Nah, I'm dumb. I thought someone else had. I don't know who I said had Washington wide receivers. I must. Oh, it was 40. He has the Dallas wide receiver. I'm so damn dumb. 40 has Dallas wide receivers. That fucking sucks, dude. I don't know. Did I hit you with the shit? Okay. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm out of my mind. No. No. That's terrible. For a draft league offense, that fucking sucks. Um, I mean, Eric Dickerson. I hope he's been doing his stretches because his back. He's gonna be doing a lot of lifting. I'm out of my mind. I don't know why I thought 40. Oh, because I think he mentioned the Washington wide receivers, and that's how it got in my head. Whatever. Okay. Retroactively, that's a shabby roster 40. And now we're locked back in to Wade here, who I'm only halfway through. It's definitely not shabby. Base Phil Simms, he's like your midline, perfectly average quarterback. He's just fine. Hilliard's a solid back. Clark and Sanders, outstanding duo. He's got Ronnie Lott on defense. Mecklenburg in there for trying to get some pressure on extra points. Minnesota bottom is useless. He's got AC, who I think AC is a good kick returner. Atkinson, mediocre kicker. Saxon, I don't know much about. I don't know. But this offense is really good. He's got the Cleveland playbook, which isn't my favorite. Um, it's kind of, again, it's another one where I think Clint Didier is going to get his hands on the ball a fair bit. The running back's going to catch a lot of checkdowns. But that's all right. You're always looking for that big shot to get the ball in Gary Clark's hands, which has always been one of my favorite things to do in this game. So this is not too shabby a roster. All right, guys, it's been about an hour. I'm starting to wear down a little bit here. As per usual, most of these teams have at least some redeeming value. 40, I didn't mean to jump all over you. I'm sure you'll do fine. You're going to have some work to do here. But, ooh, baby. Damn. Hopefully, the San Francisco line comes through big. All right, boys. Thanks for watching. Good luck this season.